Hello, and welcome back into another special edition of Cap's Corner. Today, we're going to have a special conversation with Pepper Fox. If you don't know who Pepper Fox is, shame on you. As you can see the picture next to me, that is Pepper with her beautiful son, Jason. On September 15th of 2020, he went missing. And then it was discovered that he was brutally murdered by a group of individuals who hated him because of his sexual orientation. But this episode is not about that. We're going to talk to Pepper about her son, who he was, what he loved, what made him tick, a lot of different things, trying to give him a light that many people are failing to show us. So without further ado, let me bring in my good friend and the woman that I'm so honored to know, Miss Pepper Fox. Hello, dear.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. It's so good to have you to talk about this. I'm going to keep the picture up because, like I said to you, I love this picture of the two of you. You know, look at his beautiful smile, just full of life, full of energy, right? One of the things that I was always curious, I like hearing it from other parents. How did Jason come out to you?
Well, he was 17, and it was over the summer. He was fighting with his older brother, like brothers do, and we were talking about school and stuff, and he said that he was gonna really miss not being in Newport, even though he knew it was better for him to be with me. For a lot of different reasons, and I asked him to tell me more, and he said, well, you know I'm gay, right? And I said, I've known for quite a while. Yes. The
A
moment he
mother
got
always knows.
the moment he got off the plane, I traveled the country for several years, and during that time, I didn't see my kids, and when I saw him get off that plane when he was 16, I right off the bat, like I was shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, he looks just like my dad. It's amazing what 3 years will do, between 13 to 16. And
Right.
I could tell right off the bat. I mean, just moms know,
Moms
and
know.
looking back on it, he was always so animated that and full of life, and just like he was, I don't know, he was something else. He really was. But yeah, I said I knew for a while, and he said, I hate it. And I said, what? And he said, I hate being gay. He said, I don't want to be gay. He said, I'm picked on. I'm treated poorly. I hate it. I hate it. He said, my one of my best buddies, came out this last year, and he wore a dress to school, and he got beat up pretty bad. And he started crying, and he said, I don't want to be gay. And I said, honey, you don't have a choice over that.
Right.
Your heart is what your heart wants, and you have no control over that. And I was trying to mold over in my head, thinking, okay, why would he say that? Why would he hate being who he is? And I thought, okay, well, maybe it's the area, because everyone's white collar Christian, backwoods, neo-Nazi, the Aryan Nation camp headquarters for the nation is only an hour from where he was living in Newport, in Hayden Lake, Alpharetta area.
Right.
And they have their yearly conventions, I've even had problems. I'm Italian, and I get really dark in the summertime. And I was working at Silverwood theme park, and I had an issue over hate because I went to go pay for gas. I was a bartender at the Silverwood theme park. I went to go get gas. I had an old '76 Chevy Nova, and I walk in, and the lady says, "Your money's not good here." And I'm like, 20 on number 5? And she's like, your money's no good here. And I'm like, what does that mean? It's real. I mean, I didn't even,
Right. It didn't register to you what was happening.
I,
Right.
I, I,
Right.
was, I was like 21. I'm from Seattle, I was like, and so then I left, and of course I ran out of gas on the way out of town.
Right.
Like a movie. It felt like a movie, because like I was standing there going, well, what am I going to do if my money's so good in town? I mean, I need gas, And this car pulls up next to me, and it was a bunch of skinheads, and they're like, you need to get out of town. And I'm like, I would get out of your crappy town if my money was good.
Right. Right. If you would take my money, yes. I would love to leave. Absolutely.
And hey, know your races when you're, being racist.
Right. Yeah. They don't even hide it there.
I looked, I guess they figured I was Mexican. I
Right.
recently got that a lot. And
Right.
looking back on it and looking around town this last year, he's the darkest kid in Newport.
Right.
It was a real surprise to me.
Very small demographic there of any kind of POC, anything in that town. It's like 98% white in that town.
99. We have, or they have one POC, a person of color. Then that's Dolly Hunt, the prosecuting attorney, who's also the coroner.
Right.
So that's what.
So with Jason, feeling, that way of, I don't want to be this way. And, that's a direct issue of his environment. For him, when he was getting ready to go to college, was he going to travel to the more progressive side of the state?
He was going to go to, he had a full scholarship to WSU.
Okay.
So Washington State University. Yeah. So yeah, he was excited about that. It's a lot. Anything's better than Newport.
That's what we're starting to see. Yeah. Bit by bit as we unravel a lot of stuff.
It's a town of 2,100 people, and it's like my graduating class in Seattle of 1998 was we had 1,500 people in my graduating class.
Right. Yeah, so, I had quite a few too. Not quite that many, but pretty much. Was he? Let's talk about, obviously, he is your third child. He's your baby. How was the pregnancy? Was it good? Was it smooth?
You know what? I was after having his older brother. There were some complications, and it wasn't until I got pregnant like 6 weeks later that it actually, like, I healed from my complications. Right. And it was an interesting pregnancy, because I didn't show till close to the end. He was the only one I didn't gain any weight with, because he was getting all that weight,
Right. Right.
I gained, like, I don't know, with my first kid I gained like 60 pounds, the second one 30 pounds, and this one nothing, and I remember the day that I'd had contractions for 2 days, and because I'd had like the false Braxton Hicks contractions before, my ex, not my now ex-husband, he didn't believe that I was in labor. Right. And he was like, oh, quit complaining, go take a bath or something, you're fine, and it got bad enough that I went next door to a next door neighbor in our apartment complex, and I said, hey kid, can you take me to the hospital, because I need to go? And they said, sure. And they didn't have a car, but they went down to their other neighbors, and their neighbor was asleep, so they just took the keys off the counter and took me,
Right.
And I was I had epidural with the other 2 kids, so I'm not very good with pain, but when they checked me, they're like, okay, you ready? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, where's the epidural? And they're like, oh, you're way too far along. You're at 6 centimeters. You're way too far along for
oh, good Lord.
Yeah. And his dad almost didn't make it to the hospital, but
wow.
before the birth, and he was the easiest one, and he was a solid, the biggest kid out of all of them. Of course, the one without the epidural, right?
Exactly.
He came out a whopping 9 pounds 15 ounces,
Wow.
and
With no epidural?
there was no epidural. Oh, I just about passed out when the shoulders passed. I took a deep breath, and I was like,
Right.
I passed a human. That's what it felt like.
There it went.
I'm like, no, like, that was almost too much. But he was 22 inches long, and it was funny. I didn't know when I found out I was pregnant with him, because of all the trials and tribulations and all the stuff I was going through with my ex and the other two kids. Because one was lactose intolerant, and the other one was having stomach problems. When we didn't realize it was because of the tap water. And so with Jason, we just put him straight on soy and straight on bottled water. We were in California at the time.
Okay.
And you don't drink the water there, without having it like filtered first. But anyway, never had any problems with him. No projectile vomiting, no cry. He cried only when he needed something. Either he was dirty or he was hungry.
Right.
And it's funny how the way things work, because I didn't know if I could take on one more child. I didn't know if I had enough love in it. I was only 20, or I was about I was 20, about to turn 21. And our two kids, I didn't know if I could do it. And my ex definitely did not want a third child, and so we looked into adoption. And the all I asked we met several couples, and there was one that we really liked, and all I asked for was a background check, and they could not produce one. For some reason or another, this is 2001. They could not produce one, and thank God they didn't, because I hadn't been around a lot of babies in my life before my first child. And I didn't feel that I didn't feel that overflowing cup of love, for my first or my second child. I loved them. I was like, oh, how cute, and it was neat watching them, see everything for the first time, and I loved them, but it wasn't that fairy tale, overflowing cup of love that And when Jason came out and they handed him to me, I felt that.
You were instantly in love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt that. It was, and he looked up at me, and he had big brown eyes. He had a lot of. He was very dark, and he had a lot of hair. He had a lot of hair.
So it was like looking at a spitting image of yourself.
Yeah, yes and no. It definitely was my father's side of the family.
Right.
And he came over on the boat when he was 10. My dad. And it's funny. This is the year that 9/11 happened, and this was the last. The when 9/11 happened, I was actually on my way to see my dad, not knowing it was going to be the last time. And when I took the kids down there, we I had a job, and I quit it, and I had a whole bunch of money saved up, and I said, you know what, I don't know when I'm going to get this chance again. I want to go down and see my dad. And
is this why you were still pregnant with Jason?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I've already talked about no. This is like after Jason was born. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he was born in April 3rd, 2021. But I right when September 11 happened, I was in New Mexico, and I had the 3 kids in the car, because we drove down, and I remember seeing I was at the gas station, and I see the second plane hit the towers. And the lady behind the counter was like, "Hey, good thing you just got gas because it just went up $2 a gallon." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Why?" And they said, "Well, because the terrorist attacks." And I was like, "Oh wow, well, we were in Shiprock, and not too far. It was a few more hours to Dallas, Texas, where my dad was, and I was born there. And yeah, when we got down there, all the kids, got out of the car, and and he hugged all of them. And then I pulled Jason out, of his car seat, because he was only like 5 months. Is that right? April, May, June, July, August. Yeah, 5 months. And my dad looked at him and was like, "Oh my God, that's good job." And I said, "What?" He said, "No, you don't understand." He said, all of everyone in the family, all the boys had girls and all the girls had boys, right? And he said, "Well, our family name will not go on, but." And he held him up, like, just like, yeah, he was so happy, he was so proud, and he was showing the rest of the family, and he was just like, he's so solid. I've never felt such a solid baby, and he was just so happy. He's like, this is our legacy, this is our next generation, this is our bloodline, and that makes it okay that our last name will not go on. At least we have the bloodline, because this is definitely a Marcello baby,
right?
And everyone in Texas just adored all of them. You could tell that they did. I never played favorites. I think it's wrong. I love all my children, but there is a special extra spot. I'm the first one to admit it. There's this extra special little spot in my heart for Jason, and
yeah.
And of course, but the Italian side of the family, they're very loud and very Italian and very
absolutely.
Oh, they doted. Oh, if Jason had ever met his grandfather, he would have gotten whatever he wanted, on a silver platter. He would have had a finger,
Heck yeah.
And yeah, Jason was. To back up a little bit, I was in the hospital for 3 days with Jason, and when I brought him home, I laid him on the couch, right, for the other kids to see, and. Amanda's 2, and Robbie was 11 months. And I lay him down, we're between the 2, cushions, so it's a little bit of a wedge, I lay him down. He has a binky in his mouth, and Robbie comes over, and he's got attitude, sassy. And he comes over and he looks at the baby, and he looks at me like, "What the hell is this?" And he looks back at the baby, and then he takes the binky out of Jason's mouth and puts it in his mouth. And Amanda's going over, and she's looking, and she looks at me, and then she looks back at Jason, and she's petting him, And then she looks over at Robbie and takes the binky out of Robbie's mouth and puts it back in Jason's mouth. And of course, then Robbie gets upset.
Protective big sister, protective, yeah.
Right. And then Robbie grabs the binky and puts it back in his mouth, And so the two of them are starting to fight over the binky, and I look at I look at his dad, and I say, "They're going to kill him," I said, "We're going to have to watch out, because, I'm worried about this one, because these two, kids are crazy, and who knows what's going to happen, and anyway, after saying that, before we left that area, like 9 months later, and came back up to Newport, I heard I was in the bath, and I think Mike had fallen asleep on the couch or something, and I heard like these blood curdling screams, right, and a little bit of laughter too, and I'm like, "Oh no!" And so I run out there, and there's Jason standing there, over the other two, and he's got Amanda by the hair, fistful of hair in one hand, and Robbie in the other fistful of hair. And has them both like basically bowing down to him, and he's just standing there, barely being able to stand on his own, just laughing, And I'm like, "Oh, this kid's gonna be just fine."
Yep, he's gonna be just fine. When Jason was growing up, Was he introverted? Was he extroverted? How was he growing up just in general?
He was very outgoing, very friendly. He he was so animated. I mean, he was just so everyone was always drawn to him. You know, he had
You
know
can
some
tell by his smile. Like but his you could just he just sucks you in. You can tell.
yeah.
Like
And,
yeah.
and yeah, he was amazing. Because the other kids, the other two, they ended up basically teaming up, and they they kind of, he was the third wheel. It was always, Amanda and Robbie, and to the point that they had to start Head Start because the school was worried because Amanda and Robbie had their own language. And Jason didn't have anything to do with that. He was just like, whatever, he had other things to do, but because we were putting the school said we should put both Amanda and Robbie into Head Start to get them to learn English, that we might as well put Jason in there too. And Jason was much more advanced than the other two put together. And I'm sure that part of that is because being the third, the third one, I usually the third or fourth born are highly intelligent because they have the other kids to learn off of,
Right. Yeah.
And he was very advanced for his age. He loved books and he loved scary movies.
Did he have a favorite book? Like one book that he just always had to read?
Gosh, he did. It was a Stephen King book. Pet Cemetery. Pet Cemetery.
Okay. All right. All right. We're going a little extreme there, Jason. All right. Okay. All right. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. He liked a lot of different things. It's funny when he came to see me, he had a book. The book he had on him on the flight was the Boy in Striped Pajamas.
It's an amazing book. Oh my God, that's an amazing book. I recommend it to read to anybody who wants to. It's an amazing book.
It's poetic justice at its finest. It really is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Now you said he liked horror movies. What's his favorite? What was his favorite? Because we're getting close to Halloween. So what was the favorite?
Right. He liked Friday the 13th.
Classic.
He liked Stephen King, of course. It was one of his favorites.
That would not be one of my favorites. I'm allergic, or I'm not allergic. You know what? I'm going to say that. I'm allergic to clowns now. That's what I'm going to say. I'm not afraid. I'm allergic. That's what I'm going to go with. That works for me. That works. Creepy things, man. They're creepy.
Right.
All right. So okay.
And he was hoping, he was waiting, and he was excited about I actually have it right in front of me. It's right here. Stephen King's book 11/22/63. It's a time travel book. I don't know if you know about it. It's a time travel where he goes back to when JFK, before he was assassinated, to try and change history so he's not assassinated.
Okay, well now I got to read that book.
Well, one thing that's resonated with me, because he's like, "Mom, check out this page," and I'm like, "Well, okay, yeah, what?" And he said, "This is listen to this and tell me what you think." And I said, "Okay." And he said, and quoting in the book, it said women, but I mean, it would be offensive now, but it said, I'm quoting the book, so it's all right. It says, women are an interesting creature. They tend to twist what they can't control and belittle what they don't understand. And it was just a passage in the book. And he said, "What do you think of that?" And I said, "That's actually really good. I don't think it's just
facts.
For women.
It's facts."
Yeah. He's on point, and for some reason that quote has always stuck with me. It's true. We've all experienced it, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
yeah, he loved to draw, and he got into painting on canvas when he was with me. He enjoyed that a lot. Loved movies. He really did. He was a big movie buff, and boy, that boy, he could talk the birds out of the tree. I mean, there's things that, like, a few times he can get things that nobody else can get. Like when you go into the phone store and you're like, "Hey, I need this or that," and they're like, "Oh, that's a customer service thing," or "Oh, we don't do that," you know. Well, he got it every time, and it got to the point where I was like, you are so good at talking to people. I said, "Don't you ever use that power for bad. Only use
Right.
it for good." And I said, but wow, and there was an incident where he used it for his own personal gain, and it was funny, but it wasn't funny because, like, it was bad, but like, he learned his lesson, and that was with school. When he came over, the educational system is better where I live than it is. The 3 years advanced over here on my side of the state, where they're not over there. And he was always a straight A student over in Newport. Well, he comes over, and I figured, in the back of my mind, okay, well, some of my customers are tutors, I'll trade some work and have some tutoring, and I had it all set up, waiting in the wings in case, he asked, and I was anticipating on him asking. But I kept asking him how school was and stuff, and he said, "Oh, I'm doing great, doing awesome, doing great." I'm like, "Okay, good, good," and I took his word for it, and I said, if you ever have any problems, let me know, because that's the one thing your dad wants you to do is graduate. And I promised him that you would graduate. And I said, if we let him down, then he's going to regret allowing you to come be with me,
Right.
because everything was on a permission level, because Mike was very controlling. So I asked him. I should have checked up more. It's my fault for not checking up more. But he comes to me third quarter, and he says, "Mom, I'm in trouble." And I said, "Oh God, what did you do?" And he said, "Mom, I'm in a lot of trouble." And I said, "Okay, what happened? We'll figure it out." And he said, "I'm failing." And I'm like, "What? Why didn't you tell me? What how long have you been failing? What's going on? What, are you kidding me? You can't be failing." And he says, "Well, I didn't want to worry you, and you're working a lot, and I was able to make it." I said, "How did you make it through? How long have you been failing?" He's like, "Day one." He said, I have no idea what's going on in there. They're so more advanced. Their Spanish 2 over here is like Spanish 5 where I am, in Newport." And he's like, I don't, and then there's a reel where, before he told me this, there's a TikTok of him talking about, "I've been in this lady's class for 2 days, and I told her I need English because I have no idea. I mean, I haven't asked the girl next to me what's going on because I have no idea, because she doesn't speak English." And I'm like, "Is she white?" And he's like, I mean, I said, "No, does she speak English?" And he's like, "Yeah, she speaks English." He says she's white, and I'm like, "Oh, anyways, it's a really funny little memory that I shared on TikTok. But we're always laughing, always having a good time. But I said, "Well, how have you? I've seen your report cards," and I said, you have A's and like 1 B minus. How could you be failing if you have these good grades?" And he's like, "Mom, I've been bullshitting and talking my way to each of the teachers and convincing them to give me an A." And I said, "You've been doing what?" And I said, "Damn it!" I couldn't help but smile, because it's like he was so good at talking. Like, oh, he could steal an Eskimo's house and sell him back the ice bricks right back to him. And the guy would think he got it to go and happy. Like birds out of the tree. Yeah, he was really good at communication. He went out of his way, and he was, when he first lived with me, he wanted to take child psychology. He wanted to be a child psychologist because he wanted to know why he thought the way he did. And I asked him to reiterate, and he said, I want to know what went wrong in my life, or what psychological, whatever, that basically, made me gay. And I'm like, you don't get that choice. It's you don't, sweetheart. It's not, you can't. It's what your heart wants. It's you don't have a choice over who you love.
Right. And growing up where he did, it's not right. They don't tell you that, hey, you're born this way. And he probably didn't have a lot of resources and friends where he was. But you talk about him being a good communicator. So I'm curious, right? Why he wanted to be a nurse and not go into politics? Because you need to be a good communicator to do some stuff. Why nursing? Why was nursing the passion he stuck to?
Well, he would say that he wanted to be just like me, because I was a nurse at one point. I was more on the caregiver end of it. Like I could do vitals, I could do everything, but I didn't want to give shots or not enemas. I didn't want to give shots or
intubate.
Blank. It's catheters. I didn't want to do catheters.
Oh.
I was like, no. So I didn't go. I didn't get my RN. I didn't want to go that far. I got my CNA. But he was natural born. He was so much like me. When we did a DNA test, he was 87% my side of the family. Wow. People think that it's 50. People think, oh, I'm half my dad, half my mom. No, you actually aren't. He was 87%. Like my genes really overrode. He was so much like me. He wanted to be a nurse because he wanted to help people. He wanted to. He saw a need for it. He knew that it could be good money, and he thought he'd like. There's a few times I told him, because when he smiles, or when he smiled, he had these big dimples, and I have little dimples, but not like his. But he was just so cute. Anyway, I told him, I said, you don't want to become a nurse, and he said, why not? And I said, because people are going to be hurting themselves just to come in to see you, and and he always shy away because he didn't like the way he looked. He thought his legs were too hairy, and because he went through puberty just like I did. He went through puberty early, as Italians, we're hairy,
Yeah. Yep.
He had a 5 o'clock shadow in the 5th grade, and yeah, he wanted to save lives, and his death's been really hard on me, and I'm really angry.
I know. That anger is never going to go away for you. It's never going to go away.
You know what? At some point, it's amazing how far I'm sorry I lost my temper goes.
Yeah.
It's about remorse and about feeling compassion and being sorry for something. We've all felt bad for doing. We've all done something that we were really ashamed or knew we were really we hurt a lot of people or we've all done something, and no, I wouldn't find complete peace, but it would definitely take the edge off. These people think they did the world a favor. One less gay kid to deal with,
or at least one less gay kid to deal with in Newport.
Right, exactly.
Because I would like to tell them all in Newport, we're not going anywhere, not anytime soon. Trust me. So let's talk about one more thing. A couple of things I want to ask you. With Jason being so outgoing and so just charismatic, going into nursing, that's admirable. We have a connection. Pepper, we have more of a connection than you think we do, right? My fiance is a nurse. So there's a connection there for us. I was also born natural. My mom did not have an epidural with either myself or my brother. I came out feet first. Mom's still not happy about that. Hasn't forgiven me for that. Um, but like, I've tried to tell you over and over again, we are connected, forever going to be connected. And you always talk about how you don't think that you have the right to speak on certain issues when it comes to the LGBTQI plus community. But as the parent of a child who not only was LGBTQI plus, but was also sadly murdered for it, I think you have more place to speak on it than most. What would you say to parents out there? And this is something that is very much of a trigger point for a lot of us in the LGBTQI plus community. What do you say to parents who look at their child, have them as a baby, go through this whole process and journey with them from walking and, the whole thing to their child being, awake enough to say, this is who I am, and then being tossed aside? What do you say to those parents that turn their back on their own child because they don't agree or believe in the gay aspect of their child's life? What do you say to those parents?
Shame on them. They should not be parents, because that's not what parenting is all about. That's not what it's absolutely shameful, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Absolutely. That Jason used to joke around and tell me that I was his twin. And I said, no, sweetheart, you are the new and improved 2.0 version of me. And we'd laugh. And that's basically it. They're basically, it infuriates me because they brought someone into the world to reject them. They this is their legacy, you can't control, you can't control what they're, going to be. I mean, especially with something like being gay. I mean, that's, it's not a choice, and I think that a lot of people don't, I think a lot of straight people don't understand that, because I've done a lot of research in the gay community, since a little bit, not as much now, or not as much as I am now, but before Jason's death, I looked into, some stuff, because I was really worried that I was worried, and I was kind of upset that Jason was upset with who he was. I mean, I had the kid on a pedestal almost. I mean, he was wonderful. He understood me, and I understood him. I was the male or I was a female version, and he was the male version of me, and,
Right.
and we were so connected, and we had the same sorrows and same, we were so much alike. And obviously those people didn't love their parents, love their children. And when Jason, I was worried about Jason, and his thought processing. Okay, this is what he grew up with. This is Newport, brainwashing. And so I looked into and talked to a few times a gay counselor. Because I figured that, maybe Jason needs some counseling to realize that, he needs to accept himself for who he is, and that it's okay. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to let your heart want what it wants. You don't have a choice over that, and so I thought maybe a gay counselor would be the best, was best option. And I was actually told, by his PFLAG that was a very good choice.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That I was already on top of it, which is further than most parents are. That, and I'm ashamed of not. I feel a lot more. I guess you would say woke. I guess, if that's the term I would use, one would use. Since Jason's death, I am ashamed to say it, but it's the truth. When I'd see like a gay pride parade, on TV or whatever, I'd be walking by, oh, hey, cool, hey, they, good for them. Rock on. They're happy to be who they are. That's awesome. Gay used to mean happy, and they look really fucking happy. Sorry.
You
They
can
look
say
really
it. That's fine. You can say it. It's all good.
They look really happy. Power to them. Everyone should be happy about who they are. Everyone should celebrate. And I didn't know it was about equality. I didn't know that there was an issue with human rights. I didn't know that there was. I am actually considered in some circles, including a lot of Newport circles, that I am no better than a gay person because I produce gay people. And I'm like, okay, if that's the best you can come up with, okay, give me that label. I don't really care. I don't understand why we're all human. If you don't like it, you don't have to sleep with them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't, and I used to wipe Jason's tears away. He would cry and cry and cry, and it was usually he came out to his brother and dad, and they said they already knew, and it was used against him, like there's name calling and whatnot. Yeah. And he would cry, and he would kind of throw a little bit of a fit, and I'd be like, what's going on, and I said, give me your phone. And one time he did open up his phone and hand it to me, and every other message had the F slur in it,
from either his father or his brother.
Right. And of course, I said, you send me these messages, and good thing he did, because he never let me use his phone again, because I was really upset about all that. But I still have those messages. When people say, when my child hurts, I hurt. I definitely hurt when Jason hurt, and I'd wipe his tears away and try to comfort him. And when he left and went back to Newport because he missed his friends and whatnot, and he had to finish up school because he couldn't graduate from Lake Washington, because he had bullshitted his whole way through it.
Right. Right.
Damn it. But good for
smart,
him at the same
but
time.
Not smart at the same time. Good job, Jason.
How hard it is to convince 7 teachers for 3 quarters? That's impressive. I am
really
impressed.
Wish that I could have had that talent. Damn it.
Yeah, like, well, what's going on with the teachers? Where I'm like, y'all don't have meetings with each other? What's going on about certain students? But somewhere in between when he left my home and the summer that last summer, he finally came to terms, and he was okay. He was okay with who he was, and I was feeling at peace because he was starting to feel at peace.
Right.
I used to have to force him to compliment, go into the mirror, and I'd stand behind him, and I'd be like, okay, now tell yourself you're beautiful. And and he'd say, no, Mom, I'm ugly as hell. I don't like the way I look. I'm fat. I don't like my teeth. I'm like, sweetheart, you are absolutely gorgeous. And he's like, you have to say that because you're my mom. And I'm like, no, you really are really cute, and you're such a great communicator, and you're fun. I said, you're an awesome companion. You're going to make someone really happy and really lucky someday, and he'd blush, and I said, now compliment yourself. And I'd make him do that, another thing like that I think made a difference where he finally started coming out of his, being okay with who he was when he first came to me. I went to go give him a hug. I'm a hugger. I'm a touchy feely. I like to hug, and I grabbed him and I said, give me a hug. And I hugged him, and he was so stiff and so like, I could tell he was uncomfortable. And I said, hug me back. And he said, I am. And I said, no, you're not. You're very uncomfortable. You're stiff. You're going to, hurt, kink your back out if or any tighter, And I said, give me a hug. And he said, well, I'm not used to hugging. And I said, what? And he said, Dad never hugged us. And I said, are you serious? So not only did he get hugged every day, because he would have anyway, he didn't get hugged just once a day or twice a day. Sometimes he got hugged 3 and 4 and 5 times a day. I was so excited to see him when, I would make sure that I was off work because I worked for myself as a handyman. I'd make sure I was off work in time to, meet him, at home. And yeah, and there's a few of those videos on TikTok also, where he's in the car, like his first day.
I love that video. I love that video. He's like, damn, traffic sucks. That was so funny.
The school is only a mile from the house, but because traffic is so bad, and he's used to 12 or 2,100 people in town, not 70,000, right, or 100,000,
right?
And so like the light will be green, and nobody's moving because 3 green lights ahead, it's red, and so. And he's like,
welcome to a traffic jam.
45 minutes to get here. And I'm like, what?
He was so the giggle and the laugh on his face. I was like, oh, you could not survive in like Philadelphia, because he would have been like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. So Pepper, before we talk about what you're doing this week, coming up on the 15th, because that is super important and I want everybody to know about it. I want you to remember like one of your most fondest moments with him, that you keep going back to kind of help put you at peace for certain aspects. You're never going to feel that fully anymore because your baby is gone. But what is that one memory that constantly comes to the forefront when you're thinking about him to try to just say, this is what I'm fighting for?
Wow, well, that's a loaded one. I was going to say that, one of my fondest memories is actually that picture right there. That was, he wanted me in that's his senior pictures. And that was, he said, Mom, I want you in my senior pictures. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be in your senior pictures. And he's like, come on, and I said, okay. And so we were making funny faces and whatnot. And that was, that's a very good one. I think, I'd have to say that there's 2. One was when he was about 5.5 years old, and he had a rough day or something, and I asked him, how he was, and he said, I'm okay. And I said, what's going on? I can hear it in your voice, And he said, well, I don't know. It was just a bad day. I guess every day can't be fantastic. And I said, no, sweetheart, not every day can be fantastic.
As a 5-year-old? As a 5-year-old?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he used lots of big words. He was very good at spelling. He had the most beautiful handwriting you'd ever seen.
Yeah. Ooh.
Absolutely gorgeous. I've been waiting for I always figured, man, my handwriting looks like crap. And I thought, okay, well, someday when I grow up and I'm an adult, it'll be all pretty. And I always envisioned my handwriting to look like his, because when I saw his handwriting for the first time, I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, oh my God, that's beautiful. And I'm like, I've been waiting for my handwriting to look like that for years, and it's never happened. The other, the one that I'm fighting for is, he tried really, really hard. He tried too hard, which I'm very, very guilty of. I try too hard. He always put all of his heart and soul into things, and he had like written on his hand, there's a picture of it online. It says, I gave the right pieces to the wrong people. I gave away the right pieces of me to the wrong people, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. And he came home and he was upset, and asked him what's going on, and he's like, I don't have any friends. I don't have any friends here. I don't have any friends at home. He said, I try and try and try. I do things for people. I'm very loving and giving, and I listen. And he was a great listener. And he said, I listen, and no matter how hard I try, I can't get my dad to love me. I can't get my brother to accept me, and I can't get any meaningful relationships out of friends. And he said, I just want to belong, and his favorite shows were that 70s show and Friends. And if no one probably really realizes it, but out of the people that murdered him, he was the fifth. And both the shows were 5 people.
5 people, yeah.
That's
he just wanted to be accepted.
Right. He just wanted to be a part of something bigger than himself. He was. None of them deserved him. And
no, they certainly did not.
And they looking back, thank God I got into the iCloud, because I'm able to see stuff that and I want to make something real clear, real quick. I was told to get as many people as I can to each court date and to each event that I do. And it's a shame that the first event was on his birthday, was sabotaged.
Yes.
But it still made a difference, because I was told that you need to get as many people as you can to each of those events, each of those court dates, because the more people that show up, the more the media will get involved, and more that the court system will do their job. Okay. I didn't realize it until it dawned on me a few days ago that okay, Jason's event was on the 3rd. 300 people not from the area showed up, right? We were actually planning on between 5,000 to 30,000 when 90,000 responses came in, right?
Right.
But the thing is and I know that some of those are, people say nice things and then things come up. I understand things come up, but still, it was a dramatic shock to us that there wasn't that many. But the thing is I did not know that the sheriff that's controlling this whole thing, I did not know that straight to my face, which I have on camera, on Facebook Live, and in recording, because in Washington State, 2 or more people in the room in a public place, you don't have to ask for permission, and it can be used in court. I have him on tape. Okay, he told us after the arraignment, and Mike and Susan knew that I was recording. Blakely brings us into the office and talks to us about the process, and saying, okay, well, we're going to go and get warrants for the Apple iCloud, for Google, for Facebook. And he said it usually takes them about 60 days, and they'll wait till the last minute. Okay. And I said, okay. And so he told us he was going to get them. And so after day 60, I'm like, hey, have you got Apple's iCloud yet? I see you got the other ones, but did you get Apple? Oh, no, it hasn't come in yet. Okay. So I have it documented and proof of day 80, 100, day 120, day 140, him lying straight to my face saying, we haven't gotten that info from them yet. I had a news reporter get a hold of me on the 7th or 8th of April to do a follow-up on Jason's event. And he said, hey, there's something you need to see. And I said, what's that? And he said, they issued a warrant for Apple iCloud, and your name's all over it. And I said, what? And he sent it to me, and he lied to me for 8 months. Because I had that event, I would not have known that. I would not have known that at all. And he would have never issued that warrant unless I had done that event. Because I had all those people there, and they were listening, and they were watching, and everyone was recording. He went and tried covering his tracks by, oh, you know what? I know she's going to come after me for that. And so in the search warrant for Apple iCloud, it says the victim's mother is screaming up and down over the hillsides, over the mountaintop, all over social media on 4 different platforms that she has proof. of who involved and all this blah blah blah, and they issued they granted the warrant immediately.
It's amazing what'll happen when you have a big mouth.
Yeah. It wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gotten people to show up, and I didn't really realize the power of the us, common, regular Joes, the community. I didn't realize how much power in the numbers we actually have,
Yeah.
and how important, and I think there's a lot of other people that don't realize, just like I didn't at the time, that how important it is, and
how detrimental it can be when you give false information without doing your research. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Absolutely. And
because I fell for that too, but I got smart real quick.
I appreciate that, and I have the utmost absolute respect for you, because you were the first person that came and apologized to me. You didn't have to do that.
I couldn't live like that. I couldn't live with my conscience knowing that I listened to agents that were trying to disrupt what was about to happen, and the fact that I played a role in that, even a small bit, upsets me, and for this person, and we won't say her name, she has quite a big following on TikTok, to sit there and take information from somebody you don't know, run with it, and derail something to get justice for a young man who was brutally murdered because he's gay, and you claim to be a member of the LGBTQIA plus community. Shame on you. Shame on you. Because I can tell you this, sitting down and talking with Pepper in private, talking with you, just the little, that I've did before we started to really ramp up for all this, I have nothing but the respect for you, right? The utmost respect for you. And just talking to you, I know you're not lying. You're not crazy, as everybody wants to say. You're a mother seeking justice for what was stolen from you. There's a big difference. There's a huge difference. And to be somebody on social media that has this massive platform, to be that careless, shame on you. Shame on you.
It's not just the carelessness. It's what really disturbed me, like really disturbed me, is the smirk.
Yeah.
The vindictive, It's like, whoa, are you serious? Because that's something,
like, she's known you for years. That's the kind of smirk you give somebody that you've known for years, and they're lying, but you're like, whatever. That, to me, spoke volumes. But what speaks even bigger volumes is to know that all this information has now come to light on his father. And we don't want to say too much on that. His father and all these people involved. And you still haven't issued a formal apology to the mother that you so easily trashed. That right there takes your credibility and throws it out the window. You are no ally to this community. You are not an ally to this community, because if you were, even if, and I've said this so many times, Pepper, and you saw the videos where people would be like bashing you, and I'd be like, I don't care if Pepper Fox is selling cocaine on the side of the road. The mother is a grieving mother getting justice for her murdered son. What the hell else matters? Nothing. I don't understand this. Well, let's bring everybody's past into it. If the past has a reason for being brought up, mental abuse over the years, absolutely, let's talk about it. Sure. But when you're talking about somebody who's, I don't know, standing on the street corner with a sign that says justice for my son, I don't really give a damn, because it's, at the end of the day, what matters is that the monsters that did this to Jason are put behind bars for the rest of their natural born lives. Because what was done to this young man is disgusting, and it shouldn't be tolerated. We didn't tolerate it with Matthew Shepard. Why the hell are we sitting here tolerating it now?
They bring up the past, like they did with George Floyd. They bring up the past to justify it being okay. oh, he was a drug addict. He probably, he's probably struggling and deserved to, he caused it on himself to be suffocated. It's like, no, 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 that
No,
someone having a power trip, and this
it's
is what
still a
happened.
human being. It's a human
Right.
being, right?
Right.
And you can see in the little bit of the discovery that I have been able to take a look at, it really feels like they're trying to twist that narrative that this was a drug deal gone wrong until you see the picture of the shop. Then you realize real quickly, like any person with any kind, you could watch CSI Miami and know that that is bullshit. Clearly.
And also the fact that the homeowner never being looked at, but donates, a brand new fire trucks every year to the different port cities in Ponderay County, and the fact he was never looked at, and he he moved to Mexico and all this other stuff. It's like, wow, really? It's just
that's not suspicious. That's not weird.
And then also, there's others. Well, there's other parts where, like, he worked for Johnson and Johnson, and I finally made a connection. There's a house or a huge mansion that belongs to a cult that got in trouble for sex trafficking back in Newport back in the early 90s. The Don Hobbs, who was running it recently, who passed away this last April, he worked for Pfizer and
Pfizer worked for Pfizer.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, Pfizer. And it's like, I when I started making my stand, and I was freaking out on Facebook Live, and everybody not knowing, really realizing it, everyone watching it and everything. I got a knock on my motel door 7 times, and it was victims of sex trafficking from Timber River Ranch, and not only are these 7 terrified to come forward, but they want me to save them, and I don't know how I can save them, but except bring all my research to light.
That's it. That's all you can do.
And there's all the kids in the LGBTQIA plus community there, which I didn't know that there's more than I thought there was, but they're all in hiding. None of them leave the house. They barely ever go into town because they're terrified. They're absolutely scared. And a few of them have reached out to me, and they're like, I saw your pride parade from the window for Jason, and they said that they wish they could have been a part of it. But they were terrified to come out. And they said, but it was the first time that they had felt like they weren't alone. The first time they felt safe seeing those rainbow flags going down the street. That I didn't realize how important visibility was. And until they said that, they're like, felt like we could have been saved at that moment. If we had just run out. And they want me to save them too. And I don't know, except to bring everything to light.
I think that's really all you can do, is bring things to light, and helping these people understand that there's nothing wrong with them. They're just in a really wrong town at the really wrong time, and you're right.
Controlled by really bad people.
Really bad people.
Really bad people need to be accountable for every single thing that they've done to that town.
Yeah. And you're right. Bringing everything to light is the only way we're going to, we got to push this forward, right? We got to get this up to the highest levels that we can get it to, and we can talk about this on a later date too, but like everything from this investigation I don't believe in coincidences. There was a lot of mishandling of things, and I think it was intentional. And we'll get into that. So let's talk about what you're doing on the 15th. So September the 15th, you're going to be back in Newport. You're doing a Candle Light Vigil for Jason. And that is the day that he went to this location. And sadly, that is the day that he lost his life. So you are going back to Newport with a bunch of people to hold this vigil, to be in the middle of that town square. Let's talk about that for a little bit and go from there.
All right. And the people of Newport know that it's coming. Some are happy about it, and a lot of people aren't.
Which is why we need huge numbers to get there, if you can get there.
Yeah, and it's really, really important because I'm bringing the documented proof. It's going to be done up at the sheriff's office, which is also the jail, which is also the courthouse, right? Because it's all connected, small town, so it's all connected in the same spot. Because for one, as we chant Jason's name, I want those boys that are in those cells thinking that they did the world a favor to be scared shitless. Excuse me. I want them to be scared. I want them to go, oh, what is that? Is that, they're saying Jason Fox. Oh, wow. I want them to feel uncomfortable because, they should feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been a year. There are people that were involved that are in discovery that are either turning state evidence, or they are not being looked at, even though it says involved, because they're complying with the police or whatever. Those people are running around scaring everybody in town. I'm coming in, and I'm coming in hard, and I want answers. I want to know why this is going the way it is. I want to know why they're giving away evidence. I've all these, points. I have petitions there for the sheriff's department to get go back and get some more education on their job and professionalism. I have another petition that's going to be to close the Newport police station like they did 20 years ago, because the Newport police station's only been up and running 3 years.
Right.
And also I have another one for a max amount of time, because unfortunately I've done my research. It's really hard. You have to be the internet's funny. You have to be when you Google search, you have to put in specific details for certain things to pop up, or you can't find it.
Right.
There was I've done my research with what some of the locals have told me about stories, I put in certain key details, like gay 17-year-old drugged behind white pickup truck by drunk 22-year-old, and then it'll pop up, and I've seen their track record on what people, how much time homophobic people get for murdering LGBTQIA people. Yeah. There was a man that, a 22-year-old, he fought with a 17-year-old that was gay, and there was an eyewitness that saw the 22-year-old take a noose, put it around the kid's neck, the 17-year-old's neck, and tie it to the bumper of his truck, and then take off. And the eyewitness called 911, got on an ATV, and was chasing the man. And the man got a phone call, and it was the sheriff, and the sheriff said, you need to pull over, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'm not pulling over. There's someone chasing me, on an ATV. I'm not pulling over till I see you guys. And they're like, we're on the way. You need to pull over. And he's like, no, I'm not going to pull over. And he said, are you dragging someone? There's a report you're dragging someone. He says, I don't know, maybe. Okay, by the time they got to him, the 17-year-old gay man, or young teen, or male teen, was drugged for 2 miles on a dirt road, and then another 2 miles before the truck was stopped on blacktop. And there was about that much left of him, about here. And there was chunks of him that they had to take a shovel and scoop and put into bags, all the way back to the party, up there in the woods, at the lake, No Name, I think it was. And he, I don't know, maybe, yeah, he knew. And there was an eyewitness, and even with all that said and done, the man only got like 22 or 24 months. And part of that was probation. So
we can't let that happen.
I am terrified, because I cannot let this go.
No.
But the world is watching, and there's a certain way you do things. The reason why we have laws is to follow them. Everything's in place for a reason. I am hoping that even with a little bit of my help, pushing in the right direction with the proof that I have and the support from as many people as I can get to show up, we say, hey, Jason mattered. Just because he was a gay kid you guys didn't want to deal with doesn't mean that we didn't care about him.
Right.
Or anyone
Right.
else in the community.
Exactly.
And I'm hoping that will be enough, because the governor of this state already knows publicly, because I've already had people ask me about it. When I found out that the governor of Washington had been reelected, I told him, I said, look, you need to look into this. You need to take care of this, or you need to, on this date, you need to declare a state of emergency, because the entire county will burn. And I, with my entire chest, I mean that. But I want to do this the right way first. I want to try to be the people that are going to be taking care of us someday, right, are watching right now.
Right.
They want to see how we are handling this. And
I'm going to say this. Remember, to everybody in the LGBTQIA plus community, if you are in Washington State, please get over to Newport. Be there with Pepper on the 15th. The more presents, the better. Carpool, get over there, whatever you can do. From home, turn your lights red, because it was Jason's favorite color. But here's the other thing I want to remember to everybody. Gay pride doesn't exist without a riot, right? We aren't where we are today without causing a bit of ruckus. So let's do it the right way. Let's go help Pepper cause a ruckus. Let's make sure that these monsters do not get off on 20 months, right? There's no statute of limitations on murder. You can be charged with murder if you're 98 years old. Doesn't matter. But what they've done to this young man cannot go unnoticed, and it cannot go unpunished. You deserve to rot in prison for what you've done, period.
He should still be here.
Absolutely. We've lost this beautiful light, and we celebrated this pride, this past pride without him, and it would have been his first, so, and everybody, you agents of chaos that like to listen to the little, whatever, stop listening to those and just be a social justice person and use your platform for good, not for evil. Right? Let's get this story out there. We can't let it go away. We cannot.
If someone has a question, I am an open book. Anyone can ask me.
Trust me, she is an open book. Trust me when I tell you that. I can ask her any question, and she's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll tell you that." Yeah, absolutely.
I would rather someone know than not know and assume, like so many have.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to stop. So September the 15th, get over there with Pepper. Come to Newport. The more people, the better. Let's put that pressure. 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yes. And then that evening at dusk, Jason hasn't had a proper funeral yet.
Right.
His father did one without me, even though I thought we were all doing it together. I know why he didn't want me to be there, because I would have freaked out when I saw it. His gravesite looks like the gravesite for a dog. It doesn't have the last name on it. It just says Jason. It doesn't have the dates on it. It just says 2001 to 2020. And I'm like, okay, that's why he didn't want me to be there, because I would have freaked out. I freaked out. I freaked out at home when I saw it online, Yeah. So I'm doing a and it's open to everyone who wants to say goodbye, everyone that wants to be a part of saying goodbye to Jason. This is the time to I'm sorry.
No.
I expect everyone deserves closure. There are people, because he was friends with everybody. There's a lot of people that don't like each other, and I've made it clear online that, hey, look, everyone deserves to say goodbye. Everyone deserves closure. You guys have a problem with each other. You know what? Save that for another day.
Check it at the door.
Yeah, check it at the door, because this isn't about your problem with this person. This is about saying goodbye to someone. This is about
Correct.
closure. This is about Jason. So, yeah, leave your stuff at the door. I expect enemies to be across the way from each other, you know, but we're all doing the same thing, which is saying goodbye. And,
Right.
and, I don't know, Jason was, he touched a lot of lives. And actually like 2 months before, he was murdered. He walked in on his cousin, who's my age. Yeah, he's about, I think he's a year younger than me, 39, 40. Anyway, Jason had gotten home, and he walked into the garage, and he saw his cousin hanging from the rafters. And he went running up to him, and he grabbed him by the legs, and he lifted him up because he had just jumped, you know. And he lifted him up by the legs, and he screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed until someone came and helped him get his cousin down. And his cousin's still alive today. You know, Jason touched a lot of people's lives. Jason made a very big impact on a lot of people's lives. A lot of people say that they've never met anyone as kind or as loving as Jason. And he was a really good friend, and he was a friend that anyone would have loved to have had. And I'm sorry that he wanted to believe that they had changed. They were good people, you know, that they were sorry for calling him names. You know, that there's a TikTok where I found it on Jason's phone on his messenger. You know, I saw there was a recording, and you know where you know when you press record and you just talk, and then it sends the message, right? Well, I found a few of those, and I found that one that from Ashley, or to Ashley, because Ashley had apologized before luring him out there to gain his trust back. She apologized for calling him the F slur. And so I saw the response, and I heard it, and I started to cry, and I played it over and over, and I said, you know what, I'm going to release this because I think this is something that needs to be heard. And so in several of my videos, you hear the whole thing where he says, you know, thank you so much for apologizing for calling me the F slur. Nobody ever does that. It's just a really nasty word. And he said, I hate that word. He says, just a dirty, nasty thing to say to somebody. And I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, Ashley. I really appreciate you saying you're sorry. You know, and to think that she did that just to get him, just to get him out there to
Yeah.
his life, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jason, so many have been trying to just push him under the rug for so long that I won't stop. I have to.
Yeah.
I have
You
to
can't
get
stop.
his voice out there.
You can't stop.
He deserves at least that. And
You have to be the voice that he no longer has. That's what you have to be.
Something good has to come from all of this pain.
Yes.
All of the pain, not my pain, all of his pain.
Right.
You know, Ashley actually talked to me on the phone a while back. And I guess she forgot she was talking to Jason's mother, because she's like, well, if he just kept his mouth shut, you know, he'd still be here. He'd still be alive. And I'm like, oh, and she explained that he was knocked out 4 times. Right. And they get water and they splash it in his face. And then when he came to that, they wanted him to beg for his life. They wanted him to submit. They wanted him to you know, whatever, you know. And he when he came to, he started telling them what a piece of crap they were and their mothers, you know. And he was sassy. He was fearless. He was a warrior, and my father would have been so proud. I used to tell him all the time when he just, you know, he was the perfect specimen to describe a good Italian peasant stock. You know, like my line, my family line, all of my grandparents and great grandparents, they would have been so proud. Like, you know, oh, he's just so, you know, it's
yeah.
And you know, I'm in a very messed up way, I'm very proud of him because
We're all proud of him, Pepper.
he didn't stop being who he was. He didn't beg for his life. He stayed true to who he was, and that's the hardest thing to do for anybody. Most
Yeah.
people, 90% would just put their tail between their legs and submit and give them that power. He never gave him that power, and that fifth time it was out of rage because they weren't getting what they wanted out of him, and that was it. You know,
I can tell you this, Pepper, that your son, well, I did not know him, has had a profound impact on me. It has made my senses aware to what can happen. And I always knew it growing up, you know, which is why I was in the closet for so long. But to know, you know, what he has gone through, he has impacted me, my friends, our community in more ways than you'll ever know. And we will not stop this fight with you. We are right here along with you because it cannot go unpunished. It cannot go by the wayside. Because if we go by the wayside, we set a precedent for anybody, not just LGBTQIA plus, anybody that is being brutally murdered for something they cannot control. Right? POCs cannot control that they're POCs. You know, LGBTQIA plus, we can't control that, right? This can't go unnoticed. So your son had a profound impact, and he still will. And as long as you have air in your lungs and you stand on that mountaintop, I'm going to be right there with you. And a whole bunch of us will be right behind you, because for Jason, this is, we will get you that justice, young man. And look at that beautiful smile. Look at the life, you know, the love that he would give anybody, you know, and you can tell he had a lot of it to give. Pepper, I love you so much. Thank you so much for being here. We'll talk more. We'll do some more of these as we start to keep rolling here. You know, this vigil is very important. So if you can get there, Newport, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, be there. Pepper needs the backup. But I love you to death, and we're forever connected, you and I. And I will be along this journey with you until the very, very end. And then if you need somebody to help with some kerosene or something, I know a person. I'm just saying. We're not advocating it. Trust me. It's a joke, everybody. It's a joke. But I love you to death. And thank you so much for coming on. I know your time is super duper valuable right now because you're getting ready to go back to Newport. So I love you, my friend. I love and adore you. All right. We're going to end it here. We'll talk to you in the next episode. Guys, thank you so much. And if you need to find Pepper, it's Foxy Pepper. Just put in Pepper Fox and you will know how to get there. And we will talk to you next time. All right.
All right. Thank you.